What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. Welcome to yet another episode of Putin's Russia, where every day feels more surreal than the previous one. This time, we have a bizarre story involving a high-ranking Russian general who doubles as a military political figure and is responsible for Chechens retreating from the front lines, hiding behind Russians' backs. And also infamous neo-Nazi sadist who somehow finds himself in uniform, and then also a member of the State Duma who oversees the country's largest conspiracy theory cult. All these are separate people. If you think that's already too much, wait until you hear how they all came together for an unbelievably twisted saga, one that features open threats, personal vendettas, and occult references. These are the types of people that Putin allows to climb high into the echelons of power. You would imagine the authorities would take urgent measures and lock people up, right? Well, apparently nobody is in rush to intervene. After all, none of them discredits the Russian army, the greatest of all crimes in Putin's Russia. It is the opposite. Every single one of them maniacally supports the invasion. That's why Putin sees them as Russian elite and allows them to do whatever they want. The country's institutions, from law enforcement to the military, seem to have been deconstructed to the point of absurdity. We see flayers enjoying official recognition, dog torturers getting medals, and a deputy from the ruling party threatening nuclear strikes on foreign cities. So today, let's try and piece together this puzzle of horror, dogs suffering, and unstoppable madness. Let's explore how these unholy alliances and blatant criminal acts fit perfectly into the framework of a state in free fall. First, say hello to Major General Apti Alaudinov, a decorated hero quote-unquote of the Russian Federation. He commands a Chechen military formation called Akhmat and at the same time holds a lofty role in the main military political administration of the Russian armed forces. That second position in theory should make him a guardian of morale, someone shaping the patriotic consciousness of soldiers. But apparently, it does not stop him from getting into open conflicts with fellow officers and regular troops within the very same army he is supposed to inspire. Critics from regular units accuse Alaudinov's Chechen fighters of avoiding real battle during offensives and hiding behind conscripts who have little choice but to move forward. And this is exactly what happened in one of the most recent Kursk battles. Many Russian military representatives, from regular soldiers to high-ranking officers, stated that Akhmat Chechens under the command of Alaudinov simply fled from the front lines. It was not just that. They also quite literally hid behind Russian soldiers' backs, and then some of them even mocked the conventional troops, taunting them to enter the battle and calling them cowards. You heard it right. Chechen soldiers who hid behind Russians' backs, calling those Russians cowards. So yeah, Alaudinov is not one to stay quiet. He fires back with allegations of atrocities, blaming looting and even violence on standard Russian units. So here we have a general in charge of the armed forces' patriotic spirit, and yet he is busy shifting responsibility for potential war crimes onto the rest of the military. By extension, he discredits the same army he is meant to rally. Under normal circumstances, if there's anything normal about it, this would be serious charges requiring official investigation, but this is Putin's Russia. Alaudinov is also a very close man of Kadyrov, so obviously he did not face any single charge of treason or disrespect. He is not a man with the blank poster on the Red Square after all. This person should be arrested and tried as terrorist, because who knows what he could have written on that poster with invisible link. So, we come to the first question. How do you claim to be the championing army loyalty while steering so much division within the ranks? It is enough to make your head spin, but as we will soon see, the general's bizarre battles with his own supposed allies are just a tiny fraction of the collective lunacy. Because yes, there is more. Next we have Alexei Milchikov, also known as Serb or Fritz, a self-proclaimed and confessed Nazi who leads the Rusich group. He's got a grim reputation as a man who loves posting pictures of unspeakable cruelty towards animals, and unfortunately humans too. According to his own stories, he has been fighting in hotspots like Ukraine and Syria, picking up admirers and forging alliances with more mainstream parts of the Russian military. Does it sound insane that a self-described Nazi could operate as an official soldier under the Russian flag? It is. But the biggest shock is how openly he brags about it. After all, isn't it the main goal of Putin to get rid of people like this? He started the entire war with the neighboring country, using this as a main reason, and yet, one of the most famous Russian commanders is the greatest evil that Putin swore to eliminate. There seems to be some kind of inconsistency here. Melchikov's long list of friends includes even certain deputies in the State Duma, some of whom are fully aware of what he does. They have even posed for photos together, given him awards, and said out loud that they appreciate his contributions. Of course, he also has enemies, who try to report him for extremism and bigotry. But like so many attempts to bring a maniac to justice in this system, those petitions led absolutely nowhere. Even a United Russia deputy once tried to file an official complaint after the Rusich group threatened a ritual sacrifice of a Crimean Tatar. As a result, no substantial police action. Instead, the group denounced the deputy as a snitch, doubled down on their Nazi ideology, and made it clear they are not afraid of anything or anyone. So far, he is seen more as a hero by the Russian propaganda rather than a terrorist. Not a 100% hero, I agree, very controversial hero, but hero nevertheless. Probably the regime thinks that if you want to defeat your enemy, you have to think like your enemy. That's the only logical explanation I could find. The story escalates when we see Melchikov publicly meeting with Major General Alaudinov for a friendly handshake, presumably sealing some short-lived truce. Both men are known for extravagant displays of aggression and horrifying confessions. But guess who looks worse after the handshake? The commander of ultra-extremist group does. Online communities of similarly twisted individuals call him out, outraged that he is fraternizing with a Chechen commander who, from their perspective, is everything they claim to despise. Cornered and desperate to prove he has not gone soft, Melchikov threatens to kill a higher-ranking deputy from the ruling party, the third person of interest in today's video, just to show that he is still capable of doing things he is known for. Very questionable way to prove your notorious reputation, but that's what he swore to do. The politicians on the receiving end of Melchikov's threats is United Russia Deputy Evgeny Fedorov, who runs a massive organization/political cult known as the National Liberation Movement. They believe that the entire Russian political structure, including the Kremlin itself, is under American control, except for Vladimir Putin, who is supposedly Russia's one true savior. Yes, this is exactly what they believe in. This is the actual conspiracy theory. This is just so obvious, saying it out loud makes it sound so ridiculously absurd, and yet, believe it or not, their National Liberation Movement gets a lot of prime time on TV, and they are presented as a legitimate volunteer organization, serving in the interests of Russia. I'm not even kidding. The actual cult, building on conspiracy theories, is acknowledged as a legitimate establishment in Russia, supported by the government. You might also heard that about this NOD group because they frequently travel around in these so-called Sarmat mobiles, calling for nuclear strikes in Washington, presumably to liberate Russia from Western influence. What's comedic, and to be honest reassuring in some way, is that some of Fedorov's own colleagues in parliament think he is out of his mind. Hard to believe, I know, but there are people with common sense in the Russian government. But nevertheless, in a state with no coherent rule of law, these outrageous movements are allowed to flourish, even though their demands are borderline ridiculous. Just don't forget, if you show open support to Putin and his invasion, you can do and say almost whatever you want. Fedorov then also recently said that Russia's multi-ethnic society is an asset, not something to tear apart. That obviously put him in Melchikov's crosshairs, who thinks that there is only one supreme race to survive and prosper inside Russia. Yes, the Nazi in uniform took offense at the deputy's inclusive statements, deciding it was time to brand him a racial traitor who deserved to be stopped. Normally, threatening a public official with death would land anyone behind bars. I think we can all agree on this. But Melchikov's direct involvement to the Frontlines, coupled with an officer rank, shields him from most legal repercussions. Just don't go too crazy, they most likely told him. After all, the army is always short on manpower, and an able-bodied butcher might be deemed more useful on the battlefield rather than in a prison cell. While these extremist soap operas unfold simultaneously in real time, the Volga Neft 239 tanker lies stranded and leaking oil near Anapa. Volunteers tirelessly scrape sludge off the beaches, trying to save wildlife from dying in sticky petroleum. Meanwhile, the Russian authorities are noticeably and unexpectedly absent, offering no systemic plan or urgent cleanup operation. It is as if a major ecological disaster does not even register on their to-do list. Just think about it yourself. Every time a tanker spills oil in the sea or in the ocean, it immediately becomes the breaking news on every TV channel. The reports come at lightning speed, the updates are seen in live broadcasts, and the country gives this problem a high priority status. People first try to solve it as soon as possible and then complain and look for somebody to blame. What happened in Putin's Russia? Absolutely nothing. Such news are not worthy the prime time, where instead you can talk about cult-like political necromancers waving carton nukes at Washington. That's the real deal, this is what people need to see. Not some stupid meaningless oil spillage. When you pair that with generals publicly accusing their own soldiers of war crimes and literal Nazis threatening politicians on social media, it is hard not to wonder, does the Russian state have any interest left in doing its basic job, providing security and stability to its people? Some claim that maybe everyone is so busy forging alliances with each other, criminal or otherwise, that no one has the capacity to handle a sinking tanker. Others think it is a strategic confusion, a delirious meltdown of government norms that have been systematically eroded over years of autocracy. Possibly it's a mix of both. But one thing is certain, the randomness and chaos is real. The problems are mounting up for the regime in geometrical progression. Putin tries to keep everything under control, but he is already trying to balance on a glass ball, standing on one leg, juggling 20 plates at the same time, surrounded by hundreds of knives pointing upward. His inner circle keeps throwing him even more plates every day, until eventually this circus collapses under its own weight of absurd ridiculousness. Well, there I have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's ridiculous episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below, for example, PayPal donations. Thanks so much for watching, and see you tomorrow.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell, their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in ridiculous Russian propaganda.